You're listening to the Variety Sports Network, your home for the best sports podcasters and live shows.
And welcome to the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, episode 123. Tyler here, the easiest one for me to type the whole time in a while. We're here with you February 12th, 2023, Super Bowl Sunday. Tyler, what's up? How we doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for the Super Bowl. We got a good matchup, something we haven't seen before at the quarterback position. I'm excited to get into it.
The Super Bowl's always – I always feel like the Super Bowl Sunday, like it always is like one of those. Everybody always wakes up Monday and says it should have been a holiday. You know, we should have had the day off because you're usually like hanging out all day. It is funny how the Super Bowl has almost just consumed one day in the United States. It is just kind of crazy how over time how much more popular it has become to the point now where like even if your teams aren't in the Super Bowl, you're still gonna probably go watch it with your family. Even if your team lost last week or a couple weeks.
Exactly. It's going to be a holiday eventually. There's no doubt in my mind before I die, the Super Bowl Monday will be a holiday. I think so. Everybody's invested in it. I don't see how it doesn't become a holiday at some point.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen at some point. Well, we'll get into the Super Bowl a little bit later. We'll give our predictions, our final predictions. We kind of gave some the other day on Talking the Gridiron, but we've had some time to rethink it a little bit. Maybe we'll go with that. We'll have some new thoughts there on it. All right, let's go to let's go right into our wake and hot take. Tyler, we don't start with the Warriors, but I feel like this is just right away where we need to go with it after a loss to the Lakers last night with no LeBron James in the lineup, who we'll get into a little bit later here and put his scoring record into perspective. The Warriors currently sit in 9th place. They have this Gary Payton thing going on now where it's becoming a core issue, no pun intended. They have a decision to make here shortly. Maybe we'll get breaking news. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, they're just kind of in this, the record says it, right? We talked about it last week. There's average as it gets. But then, you just look at the way they're playing, and it's like they score 118 points, but they give up 118 points. It's like you're just not winning that way. And so, even if they get Gary Payton, and let's say he plays let's just say he was healthy and he could play the whole time, I don't think they could necessarily duplicate what was able to do last year. That's how I feel about it. I'm at the point now, I remember Savage on one of his shows saying earlier, I think he said it 3 weeks ago, he didn't think the Warriors were contenders. I wasn't willing to buy into that. I kind of fought back a little bit on that take. I didn't believe it, but I think maybe reality starting to set in for my favorite team a little bit here, and I'm starting to just kind of see the real basketball faults they have.
Yeah, they're not a good team right now for sure. They are hard to watch. We won't even get into the jersey issue I have with them. These stupid black jerseys they're wearing is just they deserve to lose every time they wear them. But on the court, they're just as mediocre as you get. They don't have anyone who consistently can score points. Poole streaky, Clay streaky. Draymond isn't going to give you more than 12. Kaminga's not going to give you more than 15 on a good night. They just don't have anyone you can depend to put the ball in the basket every night. And then in crunch time, it gets even worse. They have no one who you can depend to get their own shot, except for Jordan Poole, who just turns the ball over too much for my liking as the lead guy right now with Steph being out.
And that's the thing is when we get Steph back, yeah, sure, that's the chance with Poole there, for us to have 2 scores. But it kind of leads to almost a bigger point to me with the Warriors. I'm sorry, is Curry's starting to get banged up more, right? It's happening more, and maybe an injury that's going to take him 2 weeks is now going to take him a little bit longer. There's going to be even when Curry gets back, what's the guarantee one of the other guys? I don't know. There's just a point with this team right now. I understand we still have that pedigree, so I'm not totally counting us out in that regard. But man, think about it, Tyler. Sitting 9th place. One of my big questions is, well, it was on Monday after Clay does go crazy. I'll give him that against the Thunder, right? And then he has a big game in Portland too. So we're not saying they're not still having good moments, but it's the result of actually winning the games in a championship.
Yeah.
I said, could they make the top 6? Now, they only sit 2.5 games. The Lakers are only 2.5 games behind them. That's the 13th seed there. So I don't know. What do you think?
I still think they can make the top 6. I think they could also miss the whole playoffs. It could go either way. But the way they're playing, I lean towards them being in this play-in game, and it's a crapshoot. And at that point, no, I don't think
You don't think they get in the top 6 anymore?
No, I think they could. I don't think they will, though. Without Curry being there and Curry coming back probably beginning of March, it sounds like maybe mid-March. I don't see how they can win enough games to get above the Clippers, who got better, Phoenix, who got way better, Dallas, who got better. So I just don't see how they get in that top 6 at this point.
All right, let's touch on the Gary Payton thing a little bit more. What do you think of that part of it?
It's just a disaster. It's a complete
What do you think
it's
they
not
do?
their fault, though. It's like they made a trade that they weren't told that he was getting cortisol shots in his arm to toughen up to play through injury. Just sucks. This franchise is no longer light years ahead, like Joe Lacob said many moons ago. It's just not where we're at anymore with the Golden State Warriors.
Many moons ago, that is the case. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. They're just – I don't know. We'll see what the – what do you think? Do you think Wiseman could come back into the locker room, or do you think that's the part – like, it looked yesterday at the game that, to me, Peyton was probably going to stay there. I mean, that's what it seemed like if you were just taking a body language test. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I don't think Wiseman seemed checked out weeks ago. Like, he knew he wasn't going to play. He hasn't gotten a chance. So, like, he seemed checked out. And Dante DiVincenzo being on this 1 year, then a player option, I feel like they're going to keep Gary. Matt Pulverari Mateo brought it up to me. Like, they're going to keep him and then just let DV walk at the end of the season, and Gary Payton will take his spot. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't see Wiseman coming back, and I think they'll keep Gary Payton for that reason.
Well, like we say, they sit right now, 9th place. We'll go over more of the standings here in a second. All right, so that's where the Warriors sit. That's my wake and hot take after this week, right? Like, it's just kind of like right away. To me, that just caught my attention. It's like we're just in a weird spot. I understand they can still get to a point. And obviously, as a Warriors fan, it's hard to complain recently, but we're obviously looking at this year. That's what we're talking about here. It just doesn't have that feel of the championship team yet. Maybe something changes down the road here.
Does the jersey issue bother you as much as it bothers me?
I'm over it. I kind of just have accepted this one. Maybe I'm not fighting this battle. I agree with you. It should just be white uniforms, and that it should just be if you're blue, your typical road uniform. But I'm all for like a few alternates, but like they just wear it way too often for me to where it's not an alternate anymore. Like honestly, if they wore that jersey like twice a year, I think it'd be like cooler in a sense. But when you bust it out as much as you do, I don't agree with that. I do hear your point, but it doesn't bother me nearly as much as it does you. Like,
bothers the shit out. I feel like every time they wear the blue road jersey at home, because I don't even think they've worn the white home jersey this year, surprisingly as that is. They play great. Clay goes for 40, whatever he went for with 13 threes. And then, I mean, not that that's why they're losing, but it's just, I hate that black jersey. And they do the court different. It's like they rebranded the whole team this year.
No, I got you. Well,
I don't get why they did it.
All right, scoring Canada. Let's go to LeBron. He didn't play last night. I like the little green beanie, though. I can respect that. I like when people go like odd colors like that. My son likes the blue one like that. I can respect it. All right. The reason I want to we don't usually talk about LeBron probably enough on the show. You know, obviously, he's just kind of like one of those things like where he's a winner. You obviously respect his game, but there's just things that he's been the rival for the Warriors for a long time. So he's the guy that we're kind of like gonna pick on and not really like as much in that regard. But obviously, we know he's one of the best to ever do it, at least top 3. He passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for his record. He's there. He stopped the game at the kind of an interesting point. You knew it was going to be that way. I love his celebration like a king, stalking around, like throwing it up at the beginning, his hands up, going down. I guess my question to you is, I mean, you could touch on the record there and that record being passed after 4 years, but what kind of scorer was what kind of scorer do you think of? Like, but he's the best scorer now of all time. Michael Jordan, we kind of just naturally see like images of how he scored. LeBron, what type of scorer was he?
He just was overpowering. He could get to the hoop whenever he wanted. I'd say just an overpowering. He was the Shaq of the perimeter. I used to say Steph was that, but he's literally the Shaq of like he's too big, he's too strong, he's too fast. His handles are great. He can, and then I think his passing opens up scoring for him where he probably could have scored more if he was just looking to score like 35 a game. It's to me, it's not as pleasing to the eye watching him play basketball as some other scorers like Jordan or Durant, but he's just as effective. You can't take that away from him. He's top 2, in my opinion. I have him at 2. And he's just a great player. He deserves all the accolades he gets. He seems like he hurt his foot, and it seems like it might linger for a little bit for the rest of this year, which isn't good for the Lakers. But congratulations to LeBron. As much as I find him annoying and not my cup of tea, hats off to the guy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's the thing with LeBron too. Is like it's easy to kind of pick on him for certain things, but when I think of him, I do think of him as like a relentless scorer. Like that's the way I kind of look at LeBron James. Like he always was. What was it? First to 1,000, first to 2,000. Like he was the fastest at everything. And he wasn't obvious. And the thing that he did adjust his game as he did get older. That was kind of going to be the question. And I think for a lot of us, that Berea game kind of just stands out so much that like it was hard for us to get like that out of our heads for a long time. Like,
yeah,
it was just a bad moment for one of the best players of all time. And most players have that. Like Magic Johnson also had that with the Lakers. Like he has that moment, like versus the Celtics, where he turns it over on the sideline there in Game 5 to blow the game. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just feel like maybe I haven't appreciated his scoring enough. And then you look at you dig deeper into some of the stats, and like his like per game average, he's like 5th highest too. So it's like he is a legit scorer. He's just different than what we've really ever had. That's what I feel like, because they usually been big men or Jordan. You know what I mean? So there's just like this different type. So I don't know. That's the thing with LeBron that stands out to me the most. It's just like obviously the pedigree of also being able to play so long.
Yeah, another thing about him is he gets better in the playoffs. Like his numbers all go up. There's like people they have that Dallas thing stuck in their head. Me especially, like I'll bring it up whenever I can. Like some guys didn't have that moment. Yeah, Magic did. He did. But you look at his Game 7 averages, they're just ridiculous. And he, like against the Warriors, he was putting up these numbers that you were like, holy smokes. Like these numbers I've never seen before. Yeah, he lost 2 of them. But the Warriors were way better than most Cavaliers teams. So
favorite LeBron shot that you'll remember? Like, is there one that stands out?
I think it's the 3-pointer in the corner against Detroit when he was on Cleveland and on the run to the finals when they lost to the Spurs. Like he hit this like crazy 3-pointer. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
That one I do remember. I also remember the bank shot against the Raptors. I feel like that one. The Magic one stands out to me. They didn't win that series. That one's like I kind of remember. He's had a couple against the Warriors.
The Mavericks, the thing that reminds me is the one with the Mavericks or against the Magic is he seems so shocked it would end when he turns around. It's one of the funny parts. That's a great shot.
I think I saw that one live too. The Mavericks one, that one I always like that one, or the one versus the Warriors. Excuse me, when he was on the Heat in the regular season, he knocked that one in the Warriors. That was 2014. A couple other LeBron moments that, or a shot that's you turned down his first triple double. He had those wisdom teeth out. So you couldn't go to LeBron's first team triple double. But I did take my future wife. There, you guys, it worked out well for me in that regard. So I don't know. You have to sneeze. You don't have to sneeze over it, but that's what happened. You know, that's what. That's kind of one of those funny things. And I feel, and then one of the games I think I went to. Actually, your brother Ryan was like, it was so funny. I was like, how the hell is he here? He was like 5 rows in front of me on the whole arena. I was like, what? We didn't even talk. That was pretty funny. But I remember LeBron me asking you to go, and you couldn't make it because of those wisdom teeth. I ended up taking my wife on at that point. At that point, our first date. So there you go.
Who would have thought LeBron would have brought you guys together?
LeBron is bringing people together for generations. Look at this guy.
Did you see the kids' reactions yesterday? These like 2 kids were sitting courtside next to the Lakers, and LeBron comes and sits down at the end of the bench, and they just like look over. They're like, "Did this freak out?" It's like it was a funny moment.
And he's always, to his credit, he's always stayed out of like pretty much like like the controversy in any regard like that. He's been a good family man in that sense. So like from that regard, it's hard to be critical of him in any way off the field or off the court. All right, that's enough on LeBron. But like I said, I wanted to talk about him a little bit though, because the other thing with that record too is like I was thinking like, is it one of those? Did they celebrate Curry's 3-point record more leading up to it? It felt like Curry's was like, or is that just a local thing?
I think that's a local thing. I don't think so. I mean, they did celebrate it a lot.
It just felt like it because I always felt like Curry's was over.
Yeah, me too. I felt like that one was like, oh, who cares? He's gonna pass this by like 1,000 3-pointers. But yeah, I don't think he got as much as LeBron, but nor should it have. It's the greatest record in basketball, outside of like championships, I guess. But individual accolade, I'd say.
All right, let's keep it moving from there. All right, crazy NBA trade deadline. Suns add KD to the. Obviously, that's the big one right there. You see the ones below. What stood out to you about that? I mean, sometimes it's not very active, these deadlines. Sometimes there's a couple small trades, but they're not like this one just had superstar after superstar. What do you got?
I mean, it's Kyrie and KD. I'd go with the Kyrie one just to be a little different. It's just going to be interesting to see Kyrie and Luka play together. Like, people compare Luka and LeBron. Kyrie played with LeBron, and it worked out pretty well. So, like, we'll see how this goes. The
I still don't
defensive
trust
side will do the
Dallas'
same.
bigs, though.
Yeah, but did you trust Anderson Varejao and, like, no?
I just don't trust
Tristan
them.
Thompson.
I just don't trust them in a series against like Joker or something like that. Still.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They just have two guys who are unguardable at times, which is going to be fun to watch. I'm a big watching Kyrie. I love watching him play, but you could always come to the point where, like, oh, the Cavaliers thought they had something with him. The Celtics thought they had something with him. Brooklyn thought they had, and it's all been burnt to the ground as soon as he leaves. So it is what it is. I'm just intrigued to watch those two play.
Right, I can respect that. That's a good one.
That's the LeBron sentiment around here. If you were wondering.
That was good. Always appreciate your brother checking in there with it. I think the Suns to KD one is like to be the biggest like potential, because the fact that you have him and Booker on the same team now, and Paul that only really has I call it like the John Stockton role now at the end of his career, just has to get those 11.1 points a game and 11.2 assists a game. You know what I mean? Like that's all he has to do is do that and set up these guys and not get hurt and not get hurt during the series. And I know people rip on Ayton a little bit too, but like he's still a solid setter. Then you know what I mean. And then who are they? They pick somebody else up. Ross, I know they're getting him now. So they still have pieces to their team. I know they lost Bridges and some other things like that, but I mean, I just feel like KD. They have to be. I feel like they have to be the favorite though, even over Denver. You think that's a crazy take?
No, I'd agree with you. KD's when he's healthy, he's second best player in the league, maybe third at the worst. So you add that. I think the Suns are the favorites to come out of the West at this point.
What do you think of that? The Lakers? Let's be in the sense of like, do you think they got like what the hell are? Like, I don't understand how they can get better off a trade. Like, I'm in my head, I'm like, what are teams doing sometimes? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, how could they just get rid of Westbrook and then add those? Like, sometimes that stuff doesn't make sense to me. I do like it though from Minnesota's standpoint that they did get Conley. It's kind of too bad they had to get rid of Vanderbilt and Beasley. And I don't understand how they both ended up on the Lakers in that sense. But anyways, that's a different story. But I do like Conley now playing with Gobert again. And I think that's a much better fit with Edwards.
Yeah, I like the Minnesota, what they did. The Lakers, I'm not sold on the Lakers, what they did. I don't believe in D'Angelo Russell.
I just think they got way better than they were before.
But did they? I don't even know if they're way better. Like, D'Angelo Russell is not any better. We saw him blow 3 20-point leads to Memphis last year, like as the lead point guard for Minnesota. Malik Beasley shoots the ball like Dylan Brooks. If you look at his stats, it's not that good. Without the defense, it's not that great.
You know what, Tyler? I agree with you. The Lakers suck. I agree.
And then Mo Bamba's been nothing his whole career. Like Vanderbilt's the one piece I do like that they added, and I like Rui. They added him a couple weeks earlier. But to say there's a way better team, I just don't buy it. I think it's a Lakers bias that shines through.
All right. So, what's some other trades you like? We've talked about Conley as well. The Clippers, I think them getting Gordon as well off the bench. I think that kind of helps.
I like what the Clippers did. I like what the Grizzlies did, just standing pat and adding a private school shooter, like Savage would say. I think that's what they needed. Somebody who can just shoot the ball.
That's what should we go? Should we see what? Should we see what John Wall thought of his trade?
Yeah, let's go.
When you got traded to the Rockets, talk about the Rockets experience.
Trash.
I already know.
I know. Beyond trash. Like,
but this was like 3 weeks ago before the trade deadline. They talked to him about the Rockets, and he says that, and then he goes on to go. He says this is what he tells his teammate: the shit y'all get away with over there. If you go to any other team, you'd be out the effing league. You wouldn't play. I'm trying to explain it to them because they think it's sweet being here in Houston. They're getting out of the league if they go somewhere else. Like, how it just both like he's going to get waived. Obviously, I think they've come to the consensus and been released.
One more time.
When you got traded to the Rockets, talk about the Rockets experience.
Trash.
I already know.
I know.
Beyond trash. Like,
That's funny.
Just too disaster. I feel bad for Seawood and being a Rockets fan at this point. That guy just said that about your franchise, and you bring him back even to release him.
Yeah, but I was thinking, I think with like because I was talking about with the C. Henry too with the Wiseman trade is like for those teams like I always remember as a Warriors fan, it does feel bigger when you trade somebody that's kind of seems like your best player at the moment. But that's what it seems like at that time. But if you're those franchises, you're just Victor. That's what if you get in the top 3, you're getting a pretty good player this year. I think that's what it looks like. So if I was a team tanking, that's why the Spurs are trying for that as well. They're fighting for it as well. I don't know any other trade that made the Nuggets trade with Bone Highland. He had kind of an issue with the coach from Denver, so he gets traded obviously in that trade with Eric Gordon. That one kind of surprised me because a couple weeks ago he fell out of the rotation, but he was a pretty good scorer off the bench for them, especially as a young player. He had some moments against the Warriors last year in the playoffs.
He definitely could score. I think he'll be a decent 6 man. I wouldn't be surprised if he turned into that Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams role for him. Like, just put the ball in the basket, don't do anything else. And
all right,
I think
so
he can do that.
So let's go to the standings here. Check. Here's my big question: should Denver and Memphis still be the West favorites? It sounds like you think Memphis. Is that the case? Because, like I said, we have the Suns now with KD and Booker. Those names seem bigger than anybody on those teams, right? And then you have Dallas with their 2 names there. I don't know, team. Then you have our team. We should be talking about them because they beat Dallas last night. The Sacramento Kings continue to play good basketball behind De'Aaron Fox, who has 36 points. And so, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of a weird Western Conference. I still just kind of feel like with KD and Booker, that just has to give them the edge in some sense.
Yeah, it's wide open. I'd say Phoenix, Denver, Memphis in that order, and then you can pick whoever you want. As far as that would be my top 3 in the West. It's wide open. It's hard to predict what. I could see the Warriors if they get hot, but they're not gonna get hot at this point. We've already talked. It's a wide open West. Sacramento, I think, needs to lose a playoff round or a playoff series before they make it to like a Western Conference Finals or anything. I don't know.
I was trying to think.
I really don't know what's gonna happen in the West.
I was trying to think of another trade deadline where like 2 really good players got traded at the deadline. Like possible Hall of Fame, maybe probably not Irving, but like Hall of Fame talent. And in some sense, maybe he should be a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I'm just gonna say that he could be. So if you have KD and Irving getting traded at the same deadline, like those are blockbuster moves. And usually in the NBA, it happens in the offseason. Those big guys get traded like that, especially a KD. To me, that's kind of like a game changer. That happens in like baseball more. That doesn't happen in basketball that often.
Yeah, especially coming from the same team, and they both went to teams with worse records than they were already at. Like they went to almost you'd say a worse situation. Obviously, they're not because they hated being in Brooklyn. But
yeah,
the Nets have 33 wins. Phoenix only has 31, and Dallas has 31 as well. So they went down and they went to a worse record and separated. You just don't see it in the NBA where
that wasn't that big.
What?
I say I agree with you completely. I think that's and let me just quick little hypothetical. Let's say Memphis matchups against Dallas. Who do you like?
I think I like Memphis. Dylan Brooks just brings down Memphis. I hate Dylan Brooks, and I think he is a game loser for you. Okay. I go Dallas. It's the Luka Kyrie. They have 2 guys. The Grizzlies have the 1. I like the Grizzlies team better if they just somehow didn't play Dylan Brooks.
Fair enough. All right, Suns. If I had to go Suns versus Denver.
Suns if they're healthy. No one's guarding those 2 guys. Like
Can
at least
Sacramento beat any of those teams? Any of those 4? Do you think Sacramento could beat in a series?
I think they could give Memphis a run and Dallas a run. I think Phoenix and Denver handle them.
That'll be interesting there. If any of those matchups in the West now just got a lot more intriguing than they were a couple of weeks ago. Let's just put it like that. All right, let's go to our halftime our question of the week here. Favorite halftime show ever? Is there one that kind of stands out to you presented by Row One brand? Use the code VSN15. You'll get off 15% off anything in the art gallery. Tyler, there's been some good ones. There's been some bad ones. There's been some forgettable ones over the years. Is there a halftime show? Is there a moment where you with your family somewhere? What were you guys doing? Favorite moment, favorite halftime show?
My favorite moment was I was eating some dip up by my little island thing, and I look over and I see Janet Jackson's titty. I was just shocked. I was like 12 years old. It was the best moment of my life at that point, baby. And it's a wild moment. It changed the halftime shows forever. MTV was no longer allowed to do them. Yeah,
was that the one with like Britney Spears on it too and Christina?
Yeah, Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Were you by yourself? Were there other people there with you?
No, Frankie was next to me, and my whole family was. And they're like, "What is going?" My neighbor, who was a real like horn dog, like one of those older guys, who always made jokes about stuff. And I was like, "Oh God."
That's a great. The Michael Jackson one always stands out to me. That one where like I don't know why, because the way they did that with the fans, that was like kind of one of the first times I've ever saw that. I was like, what the heck? That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna blow. And he stood there forever, like waiting.
Yeah, he just didn't move.
He didn't move. So that kind of moment always stands out to me a little bit. And then there's some bad ones. Or what was the other one I was thinking? Oh, the Britney Spears one as well. The Bruno Mars one wasn't terrible. I think that one wasn't terrible.
No.
Right?
The bad ones are like the cold.
What did you think of last year? Last year wasn't bad with Eminem.
No, last year's was great. I loved last year. My cup of tea though. 2000 Trap is right up my alley.
All right, well, use the code VSN15. Get 15% off in the gallery. Go check that stuff out over at Row One Brown. Proud sponsors are here over at Variety Sports Network doing big things. There's a lot of shows going on. We have our Astros pod today. They got some big guests coming on their show, so be sure to check that out here on the network. Tyler, speaking of kind of memories like that, let's go to what memories stand out to you from Super Bowl Sunday? Now, I know we talked a little bit about this on Talking to Grant, but I don't maybe mean a game so much. Maybe there is a game, but moments from the game or something weird from a game that stood out more than just kind of like the epic play in a game. Anything that stands out to you?
It's more like commercials and stuff than the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Anything? What stands out?
I think Brian brought up a good one on time. The Bud Bowls, where the little beers would play against each other, was always good. The Gatorade baths were always something cool that didn't happen in any other sport until the Super Bowl was fun. As far as big plays, though, is all I can think of off the top of my head.
See, for me, I always remember going to my grandparents' house. We always went there on Super Bowl Sunday, or excuse me, not my grandparents, to my aunt's house, my Aunt Sheila's house. And always we had clam chowder in a bowl. So that's like those are like my main memories of going there. All the cousins there watching the game. And usually, like I said, forever, the game was never really that good for a while. But those are kind of some of the best memories I have. And it's usually always involving family in that regard. But just those type of stuff from it. I always remember like you said, some of the commercials. We talked about those. There's also moments, but it's that Titans-Rams game is the biggest memory I have. And I kind of wanted just for a second to kind of touch on it for I don't know why I don't talk about it enough, because for me, that was the game that always had the biggest impact on me outside of my favorite team. And I think it was because it was like sophomore in high school or freshman in high school at that point. And so I was kind of really getting into football, playing a ton of Madden at that point, really into it, into the sport. But the Super Bowls were always bad leading up to the game, up to that year.
For terrible least, for a decade.
For at least till that since that Bills Giants game. And so, all I saw was bad championship games, and that one got off to a bad start where the Rams were up 16-0. But then the Titans. The thing I think I remember the most about that game was just kind of like that football heart, I guess you would say, the Titans showed in that game, and then the Rams resolve in such a crazy year for the Rams. I kind of was rooting for both teams in that regard. It's such a weird game, but I know it's up there in the top 20 of Super Bowl games. But for me, that game had a huge impact. So that's why I kind of was like, I'm going to talk about this. We did, and just in terms of my fandom of the game, that one kind of stood out. So the big plays, McNair, how hard they were hitting too. I don't know, that was different football. And I rewatched the game this week, and it kind of lives up to the hype again. Even when the Rams get off to a 16-0 start, it's something there's something really good about that game.
Yeah, like you brought up, Super Bowls were bad for a decade. My whole life, they were terrible until this game. And I was once again at my neighbor's, and it was just lived up to the hype, the big comeback. My neighbor was a big St. Louis fan. He grew up in LA, so he was a Rams fan. And he was going wild. And then when the comeback happened, the mood shifted. And And then the tackle by Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones.
Mike
On
Jones.
Kevin Dyson. Just a great play and just a great way to end the Super Bowl. Like the ultimate, you get tackled at the 1 while you're reaching to get it across the goal line. And it just was like the perfect picture play. It's like a movie ending almost. And the Rams were terrible. Like Trent Green got hurt in the beginning of the year. They weren't expected to be any good. They bring in a
Sorry, P Shark.
grocery bag clerk to be their quarterback. Yeah, P Shark, that's a tough one.
Sorry about that, bro.
I know you're paid.
And one of my, I told you, Nick, who obviously is one of my better friends, he was a Titans fan at that time too. He was crushed by it, like obviously so random. He was a Titans fan at the point in time, but he loved Eddie George. Eddie George and McNair are like the two things that stand out from that game. And then obviously the Isaac Bruce like catch at the end. Like McNair, you look at his passing yards, not that great, but he ran so well that game and avoided so many sacks that last play. The one where he's obviously about to go down. That was obviously the big play that stands out to most. So I just wanted to give that game a little love. That's the one that just really kind of changed my perspective on football a little bit as a freshman there in high school. Like it just, I don't know, like got me really into it. All the big plays and especially that fourth quarter there, especially the last few minutes of the game. So I recommend, maybe not for some Titans fans like our guy P Shark over there, but I'd recommend you go back and check it out. There was a lot of big games in there, or a lot of big moments in that game. So that's what I had over there with it. So, Tyler,
do you have an NHL headline on the bottom of the screen? NHL, that is shocking, Darren. I love how we're mixing it up.
And I got NHL here for people. I also combine, if you keep looking, that's a good point that you point that out real quick here. So one of the things I'm trying to do on the podcast for people that do watch the podcast on YouTube to make it more, I guess you would say, make it more worth your time, is I will try to do some headlines down low, keep you updated on some of the stuff going around in some of the other sports. Those are some of the things we're trying to do different here on Variety Sports Network. I'll have that. I'll have the NBA in there, just kind of like a little, I guess you'd say a little Sports Center-esque in that sense, Tyler, old school style. So that's some of the things I want to try to add here. If you give it a little follow here at Variety Sports Network, also give us a follow at Fatboy FadeAway Sports. Check us out
there.
Hit that
like button.
And like I said, tonight we're going to hopefully do a Talking the Gridiron episode, a little recap, or at least I'll be doing it with Jimmy. Obviously, if you could join for a little bit, that'd be awesome. It was a really fun show the other day. That was so much fun. We had a lot of people in there. Yeah, it was awesome. John from Out of Your Mind, the Falcon Podcast, all those guys, they just do a great job, and I appreciate them. Calman, your brother, everybody made it a great show. Let's go to it real quick. We've had another day to think, a couple days to think about it here. The score will be what? What's our final kind of takeaway here? What's your final prediction here? Money on the line.
I got 34-27 Eagles. They have the better O-line and the better D-line. I think that's a recipe to win a Super Bowl. The quarterback play isn't such a traumatic difference that I feel like Mahomes can overpower this Eagles defense. And I think Hurts can take advantage of the Chiefs defense. So when push comes to shove, literally when push comes to shove on the front sevens, I just believe more in the Eagles, as long as their linebackers don't get exposed by Kelsey. But I expect to see the safety Gardner Johnson guard Kelsey a lot this week. And we'll see how it goes. But I believe the Eagles will win 34-27. Okay.
I got 31-21. I'm only Eagles winning it still. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm just nervous that the Chiefs will lose by 10. That's kind of like, I don't know if they can lose like that much, and I don't know if we'll see. I kind of almost, part of me wants to go like it will be a low scoring game, like it's something that I'm not like a 20-17 or something like that. So we'll see what happens, because obviously if both defensive lines can get to the quarterback at all, that is to me the most intriguing part about this matchup, is that just with Mahomes, how does he do against this defensive line? We saw what happened last Super Bowl, where he just got thrown around like a rag doll in that game. So, and would he have to have surgery 2 weeks later? So that will be a kind of.
He was really never the same. He still played great, but he was always hurt and never practiced after that game.
No,
but that's Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tyler, I think that's going to be close to our end here. Let's go to our winners and losers of the week here, presented by SeatGeek. Like I said, go use the code or go over there, use VSN, you get $20 off anything there at SeatGeek there. So who do you got as your winner of the week here?
My winner is the UFC's main event last night, Volkanovski versus Islam. Just a classic. The judging was a little suspect. I don't know if Islam deserved to win, but just two guys, the two best guys in the sport right now, went at it, and you could see why they were the two best guys. They could strike, they could wrestle, they could grapple. Just well-rounded guys, fighters who put on a show for the fans, and I appreciated it. Great fight, Dana White. Let's run that one back.
I was following our guy Rev a little bit on Twitter because he does a good job with the UFC stuff, tweeting about it. Obviously, I don't have pay-per-view, but it sounded like it was a really good fight. So, do you think he's better? Is there any chance he could be better than the other guy? What's the main guy that McGregor didn't like?
Khabib.
Yeah, is there any chance?
I don't think he's better, but he could put up a better resume if he just keeps fighting.
Yeah,
Khabib retired so young and didn't fight everybody yet.
He only had like 30 fights, right?
Yeah, but like 15 or 20 of them were against like Russians no one's heard of before he got to the UFC. So he's great. They're both great. It'll be interesting to see where Islam goes from here.
All right, my winner of the week. I'm going to give a little shout out to our guys. Let's Be Real podcast. They had their 200th episode yesterday. Did a good job, breaking down the Super Bowl, talking deadline deals and all that. So, want to shout out our guys there: P Shark, Sheedy, Trevor, Tuke, Savage. I know is on there as well. Once in a while, and they'll have multiple guests on there, and they do a really good job. Got us kept us going at a period when we started the podcast game. So felt like it was necessary to shout them out and just obviously they know we appreciate them and stuff like that. So winner of the week, then congratulations guys on 200 episodes. Crazy. That's a lot of episodes. So that's doing it for a long time and being committed. So just awesome guys with that. So winner of the week, P Shark and them. I also got AJ Gree, got to shout him out. What a career. He retired. So I wanted to shout him out. And then what was the guy on the Nets? Is it Cam Thomas? The guy? What's the guy turned into what did he turn into the bubble TJ Warren or something like that? He's just going off.
Like it puts up 40 a night.
What do you got for loser of the week?
I'm going to hold my guys accountable. It's the 49ers. Just take your loss. I understand they're asking you the question, and you're not going to say, "Oh, yeah, they would have whooped our ass." But just give credit where credit's due. They dominated what they played against, and you threw it. You had your best effort out, and it wasn't enough. So my loser of the week is 49ers.
That's a good call. That's a good fan there. It's honesty. I did hear some of the guys. What did Samuel say? He said something like in his.
They're asking us the question. What do you want us to say? We would have got our asses kicked.
He's like,
I get it, but
he's like, yeah, we would have beat him by 10 easily. He's like, I just know. And the guy's like, well, how do you know? He's like, it's just fact. It's like, well, it's not fact. It's fact.
I didn't hear that part. I heard the after part. That's a little much saying you'd win by 10. That's crazy.
The guy's like, well, how do you? Oh, it's so funny. You should listen to the soundbite because the guy's like, well, how do you know? He's like, he's like, how do you know? He's like, I just know we'd win by 10 because I've seen it all year. And the guy's like, my God, it's so funny. It's such a weird response to what he said. Like he's like, honestly, he's like, my God. It's like, I wish I could get that soundbite. Logan, I need that soundbite. That's what I need. All right. Also, my loser of the week here. I also got Nets and Superstars. Just it doesn't seem to work out there very well whenever they try to make a big trade, like ever in their history, right? Like it just, maybe you could say other than the kid one, that's the one that stands out. But then they've had some other ones where it just hasn't ever worked out in that regard. You're right. The kid one is fair. You need to point that one out. But they've also had some recent ones. Obviously, when you get Durant, Harden, and Irving, you're thinking something will work out bigger than what it has. Can I also throw out back to GP2 Bay Area medical exams, physicals? What's going on? We got some of the best doctors in the world. We're like how we can build stuff around here. You can't ever get anything done without approval. Right? There's too much stuff in the. You got to get too many checkpoints. Man. What's going on? You can't get any trades done. Can't build anything.
Nothing gets done. Everything gets held up. There's always a blockage. It's been a tough year for Bay Area fans.
To me, that's hilarious. What do you think about that? The Giants there. Hey, baseball 7 weeks away. First pitch.
Yeah. Me and Josh Lewis of BSN starting a podcast facing the Giants. It'll be out in a bit. I'll do a little more promotion later on. But yeah.
And we're going to be doing the 7th inning stretch. I'll be joining Josh Lewis and Josh Edwards on there, and probably multiple guests on. They'll do show Monday and Friday, so hopefully I'll be able to jump on there on both shows during the week. So baseball time is almost here, and that means the weather's getting a little warmer because I'm out here in the garage freezing ass and stuff. Jimmy, don't hate me for that, all right? Stay Jedi. Don't hate me for that comment, all right? Don't hate me for that. I'm looking forward to talking the gridiron tonight, though. Should be fun. Super Bowl reaction. Hope you guys can join us on Variety Sports Network. Like we said, Tyler, it's been a big little boost for us here going live. Appreciate anybody that's joined with us and doing that talking the gridiron has been fun as well. It was really fun the other day. So, like I said, good stuff. Tyler, with that said, enjoy the Super Bowl today.
Absolutely. You as
All right,
well.
guys.
Tell your family I said hi.
Sounds good. Till then, peace.
Peace.